what is up, everybody? This is your boy AJ Trip, and welcome to the first game according to me of 2020. And we're going to start off with some breaking news. In the recent past couple hours, it's been announced that Mike McCarthy has been hired as the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. After the season was over for the Dallas Cowboys not making it into the playoffs, they Dallas Cowboys, Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones decided to take some time with their decision. Now, Jason Garrett was on his last remaining days of contract. So, and apparently there was some talking about trying to, you know, Jason Garrett was trying to retain his job, and he was, in the meetings with Stephen and Jerry, he was saying things like, I should have been the one to call plays since this was my, the last year of my contract, and Kellen Moore actually was the guy calling the plays, and they actually did have a really prolific offense. One of the best offenses in a long time for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Dak Prescott threw for almost 4,900. He threw for over 4,900 yards and had a lot of touchdowns, and so the offense was prolific. But I guess Jason Garrett said that he wanted to be the one calling the plays since this was his last year, and they did let him do that. They gave him Kellen Moore, and then I think they've also seen if he wanted other things in the organization, if he wanted to be like some type of and maybe work under in the front office or something like that. So they were also trying to do things like that. But last week they decided that he was not going to be even part of the organization. And then yesterday they finally decided that he wasn't going to be the head coach. So they actually decided to just announce that they're not going to renew his contract. Because they didn't have to say anything. His contract runs out on the 14th. But I guess they wanted to go ahead and announce it and let it go yesterday because they knew they were going to hire Mike McCarthy today as the head coach. And we know the stuff about Mike McCarthy. I mean, he was the Green Bay coach for a good 13 years in Green Bay. He went to 9 playoffs. He won Super Bowl 45 with the Packers. So yeah, he's a pretty doggone good coach. Near the end with Aaron Rodgers, it seemed to be tumultuous a little bit with the the play calling and things like that. He would call a play, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't like it, and he would just do what Aaron Rodgers would want to do. So and also I think last year was a big thing because Aaron was not healthy. So but they had missed the playoffs in 2 consecutive years. And so they decided not that we can't have that. So they let him go in the middle of last season. So but now he has been hired as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So we'll see where he goes with there. We'll see if we'll see if he at least any offensive coaches would he keep Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, because I'm sure that Mike McCarthy would want to call plays because that's what he did for most of his time in Green Bay. He called plays for most of the time. There was a couple years where he didn't, and other people called plays, but for most of it he called plays. So we'll see if he'll keep Kellen Moore in Dallas. But yeah, breaking news here. First, first game according to me in 2020, Mike McCarthy is the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. By the way, with this being the first podcast of 2020, we are not only doing the podcast version, but we are also doing a video podcast version. So if you are listening to this on Anchor FM, you can also watch this over on my YouTube channel, AJ Trip. You can check that out. And so yeah, we're kind of doing a kind of simulcast type thing here. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue. We got a lot of other stuff to talk about. We had some fantastic games this wildcard weekend, didn't we? That Saturday was something really special. The Buffalo Houston game was I thought was incredible. Buffalo went out, got to a big lead, 16-0 lead on Houston. Then Houston came back, sparked by J.J. Watt and his sack of Josh Allen, and then Houston came back and Deshaun Watson did his thing. and we came down to a point to where it went to overtime, and then just that's a fantastic play by Deshaun Watson. The Buffalo came with a blitz. Two guys met him at the same time with the same force, and Deshaun Watson was able to break out of it and still make a play to Taiwan Jones, and he ran it down to the into the red zone, and they kicked the field goal to win it in overtime. And it was a fantastic game, fantastic way to start off Wild Card weekend. And and then what also happened is that the night game, Tennessee versus New England, and this was I thought an interesting, very exciting game as well, as Tennessee kind of had a hold over New England, and they just went in there and they just ran the ball. That's what they did. They wanted to keep Tom Brady off the field, and they wanted to, because the defense is okay, but the one weakness of the New England defense is the running game, and Derrick Henry was the leading rusher this year, so they get in there and they ran the football, and there was a spot near the fourth quarter that where they did the they actually did something that apparently New England did early in the year against the Jets, where they was running down the clock, and they just decided to take penalties, and they ran almost 2 minutes off the clock without playing a play. There was three penalties, two for Tennessee, one for New England, and they just and it took about 2 minutes off in that play, and that really hurt the Patriots, and the Patriots just couldn't come back. Um, just they punted it, they downed it at the one, and then it was a a interception return for a touchdown for Tennessee that made it the final score 20-13, and so there's a good possibility that we are seeing the last of Tom Brady as a New England Patriot, and it's been fun. It's been fun. It's been fun watching him play because he's great. Who doesn't love to see greatness? But it also it could be it hasn't been so fun because it's just been them, and it's just been them for the last 7 years since Peyton Manning retired. It's been them, and it's good to now see some new blood in the AFC here. You think about the final four quarterbacks. Um, we got Deshaun Watson, we got Patrick Mahomes, we got Lamar Jackson, and we got Ryan Tannehill. So, but yeah, there's a lot of special things happening in the AFC with this. And as much as you may not want to see Tom Brady go, it's I think it's good to get some new blood in there, and I think that Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, and many others are going to continue on with this. They're going to continue with um, this legacy, and if this was the last ride in New England for Brady, Belichick, and Robert Kraft. Um, well, it's been a fun ride while it lasts. But maybe this is what is needed, because listen, people talked about it before. Brett Favre played for another team. Johnny Unitas played for another team. Peyton Manning played for another team. Joe Montana played for another team. So if Tom Brady plays for another team, it's not like it's this big, you know, rigmarole thing. It is not. It's just him, playing for another team. So with now Houston moving on and Tennessee moving on, yesterday we had the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints, the first game of Sunday, and that one was a good one too. That also went into overtime, and Kirk Cousins proved that we need to like that. we gotta like that, because and Kirk Cousins he's been an enigma. I think some people wrongfully think he's bad. Um, and he's not a bad quarterback. He's actually really a very good quarterback. The thing about Kirk Cousins is that he's just maybe not a winning quarterback. You know, although he kind of proved that wrong yesterday, didn't he? He kind of proved that wrong by winning against by making it in overtime, making that throw to Thielen to get down into the red zone, and then making the third down throw to Kyle Rudolph for the touchdown. And I know there's some talk about was it the push or was it offensive pass interference? I listen. I understand the rule and I understand that he did extend the arm, but I also think that as there was a play in the Buffalo Houston game um, where one of the kick returner for Houston, he made a signal, he caught the ball, he threw the ball away, and then Buffalo picked it up, recovered it in the end zone for a touchdown. And then John Perry, the official, was saying, let's have some common sense here. He was giving himself up, even though that's not what the rule states. And I think there's some common sense needed to be determined here because he even though he extended the arm and everything like by rule, it made no difference. It made no difference in what it was. That wasn't going to. That's not the reason why. Because Kyle Rudolph is 6'6". The other guy is 6 foot. He was going to catch that ball whether he was on him or not. So some common sense there needed to be made, and I think it was. Um, so Minnesota won, and Kirk Cousins got a little bit of the monkey off his back, but now he has to go to San Francisco, and he has to play big there against that 49ers defense, which is a monster defense. And I think it's gonna be a really good game because the Vikings defense, can they stop the San Francisco offense, and then we have the Minnesota defense, the 49ers defense trying to stop the Minnesota offense. This might not be it's not going to be touchdown field. This game might be more of the game we saw in the second half, final half last night, which was the Eagles in Philly. And so let's just get this out the way. You got to feel bad for Carson Wentz. Made it to the playoffs, his first playoff game, and then in the first quarter he gets hurt. I don't think it was a dirty play by Jadeveon Clowney. I really don't. But unfortunately, he got hurt. He got concussed. And Josh McCown, the 40-year-old man, came in and he was trying, man. He gave it all he could on that field. This isn't the Josh McCown who in 2013? Yeah, 2013. With my favorite team. He came in there and with the Bears, and played like a he played like a superstar quarterback for the most part, or at least a star quarterback. The games he played in for Chicago that year, but it's not that same Josh McCown. He gave it all he could, but it just wasn't enough. Seattle, DK Metcalf is becoming. He was talking about someone becoming a superstar. He is. He's becoming a superstar before our very eyes. So um, he played well. Then they just every third down they couldn't hold Russell Wilson. They had a third down and 18, and then he got he ran for the first down. So it was just not enough with Carson Wentz be going out and Josh McCown trying doing all he could. It just didn't work. So Seattle won 17-9. So Seattle moves on. They're gonna go to face Green Bay in Wisconsin next week. Um, it's going to be very interesting to see what goes down next weekend. And I think next weekend is going to be a really, really good weekend because we have Houston going to face Kansas City, a replay of what they played in the regular season. Kansas City won that, but it was a very close and a very exciting game then. Then we have Tennessee going to face the Baltimore Ravens. And I don't know if they played in the regular season, but again, we're going to see if they're going to do the same thing that they did in England: run the ball, keep Lamar Jackson off the field, and how are they going to control, Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram and the running game, and everything like that with that offense. And we also see with Baltimore. I know Lamar Jackson played in the playoffs last year, but he wasn't Lamar Jackson. Then he was he wasn't the MVP last year. So it's going to be interesting because the stat about that game was that he went. I think he went an hour or so in that game without completing a pass. an hour of of actual time. Maybe it might have been even longer, where he went in his place, he went out, made that. That's not going to happen in this one, but we need to see what does happen because it's going to be like a new thing. Now he's got a little bit more pressure on him. So, and maybe he'll just play like he's been playing all season long. So, like a quarterback. Which, by the way, it came out that the first team came out, and it came out that Bill Polian and two of the guys he works with at Sirius XM did not vote for Lamar Jackson for first team all team all pro, what it was. I mean, listen, and listen, Bill Polian, he came out and said that he was wrong about Lamar Jackson, but he still decided to vote for Russell Wilson. So that's what are you doing there? So, um, but that's neither here nor there. Minnesota, they're going to play the 49ers, and the Seattle's going to play Green Bay. Uh, should be very, very interesting what goes down next weekend in the National Football League. Also announced I guess you could say break we had were the 15 finalists for the Hall of Fame. Um, so the modern era player finalists were determined by a vote of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee from a list of 122 nominees named in September that was reduced to 25 in late November. And those 25 were reduced to 15 on this past break, and they were announced on the January 2nd. And here are the finalists: Troy Polamalu, Adrian James, Zach Thomas, Bryant Young, Richard Seymour, John Lynch, Steve Atwater, Leroy Butler, Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, Sam Mills, Tony Baselli, Alan Faneca, and Steve Hutchinson. Um, it also says here that the Hall of Fame board recently passed a resolution that suspended the Hall of Fame selection committee bylaws for the class of 2020 election cycle only. The measure is intended to honor the NFL centennial celebration through a special centennial class that will be comprised of 20 members in 2020. The group will include 5 modern era players from the list that was announced from up there, in addition to 10 senior, um, a player who has been retired for more than 25 seasons, 3 contributors, and 2 coaches. Um, the finalists will be presented to a full 48-member Pro Football Hall of Fame Selection Committee during its annual meeting on Selection Saturday, February 1st, 2020, the day before the Super Bowl. The Selection Committee will elect 5 modern eras players from the class of 2020. They don't have any of the coaches or the things, anything like that, but and here's what I'm going to be honest with you. I actually think it should have been different. They should have named 5 seniors, and they should have named 10 guys from this list. Because I actually think there are 10 guys on this list. Would I think? Well, actually, there's a lot of people that I think. I'm not sure about Leroy Butler. I'm not sure about Bryant Young. I'm not sure about Richard Seymour. Um, I'm not sure about Sam Mills. I'm not sure about those 4 guys and whether or not they are Hall of Fame worthy. The other 11, I feel, are. I think they were great players and they were Hall of Fame worthy players. So I think it's going to be hard. Um, I would have liked for them to do 10 modern eras and 5 seniors instead of going 10 seniors. I'm not a big fan of that, but I can understand why we could do that. Maybe there's some players in the past that could, So I don't know, but that's not for me to decide. I just wish they would have done 10. So here's who are the 5 I would have selected. I would select for Pro Football Hall of Fame if it was on me. And I would go first off Troy Polamalu. I think he the years in Pittsburgh, I think, were incredible. Him and Ed Reed were perennial Pro Bowlers. They were perennial All Pros and in the AFC, and they were tremendous both at their positions. So I think Troy Polamalu goes in. going on my ballot. Another person to go on my ballot would be another safety, and that's Steve Atwater. Steve Atwater, I think, played fantastic. I mean, he was. I mean, I remember one time looking at his, when he was first nominated for the Hall of Fame a few years ago, or when he first made the finals. He's been nominated for a long time. His last year was in 1999, but when he was actually became a finalist a few years ago, I looked at like his pro reference and looked at him, and he was all pros. Like he was like 8 Pro Bowls, and he went to like he had 5 All Pros, and it just his things were amazing. His accomplishments. So I think Steve Atwater. I would put Steve Atwater into the game. I would also go um, uh, with Reggie Wayne. I think Reggie Wayne, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think Reggie Wayne was fantastic. I think he came in and he benefited from, being with Marvin Harrison. But I also think he stepped up his own. He became just as important to the Indianapolis offense as Marvin Harrison was. So I think Reggie Wayne would go in. I would put in Isaac Bruce. I think Isaac Bruce he was a fantastic wide receiver. He was a great one. For years, he was the only thing good about the Rams. And then they got Torrey Holt and they Marshall Faulk, the whole greatest show on turf. But I think Isaac Bruce was for the long time great, and he was going to Pro Bowls, like I said, when the Rams were nothing. So I would go Isaac Bruce, and then I would also go with Steve Hutchinson. Um, Guard. He played for Seattle, Minnesota, and Tennessee Titans. He was a fantastic uh, um, offensive lineman. He was one of the best of the new century. He came out in 2001. So he may have been the best. He may have been the best guard since of this since the 2000s. So I would put him in that list. So that would be my five. My five would be Palomalo. It would be Atwater. It would be um, Hutchinson, Isaac Bruce, and Reggie Wayne. But once again, let me state this. I wish that they would actually go and put 10 modern era players in and do 5 seniors. I really wish, that they would have done it that way, because that to me that would make more sense to do it that way. And now for the college football playoff. Let's talk about this for a little bit. Um, so the semifinals happened on the 28th of December. The first game was LSU and Oklahoma. LSU they just destroyed Oklahoma. This wasn't even close. I can't believe, you know, how big of a just beat down they put on Oklahoma, 68 to 20, 63-28, and it wasn't even that close. It really wasn't. Um, Joe Burrow had like 6 touchdowns in the first half. Um, the wide receiver Jefferson, he had 4 of those in the first half. So he broke all types of records all in that first half. He even ran for one at one point in the second half. So LSU just really smoke rolled Oklahoma, and it wasn't even close. So then they moved on, and then we had Clemson face Iowa State next in the Fiesta Bowl, and this one was a nice one, I think. This one was a better game. Ohio State put up a good fight, but I think Clemson proved that they are still a tremendous team. And Trevor Lawrence came back. He was using his legs as much as he was his arm. He ran for a long touchdown. And they beat Ohio State 29-23. So now here we are in the finals. College football finals is going to happen next Monday. Um, it's going to be Clemson versus LSU. And I don't know, the way LSU smoked rolled Oklahoma. Uh, I don't know if they can do that to Clemson, but I'm not going to be surprised if they do. Not anymore. I would have been surprised if they didn't smoke roll over on Oklahoma, if they had a close game with Oklahoma and they won like 30, 33, 28, 35, 28, something like that, and then they came and smoked roll Clemson. I would be shocked, but I'm not going to be shocked now because they seem to be on a mission. They seem to be on a mission to go ahead and kick the living hell out of everybody and make this, bring another national title to LSU. So that's going to be a very very fun game. I think. And I'm not gonna be surprised if Clemson wins either. I would be surprised if Clemson smokes rolls LSU because I think LSU defense, is great, and I don't think, and that would be surprisingly to me if that happened. If LSU defense gets smoked rolled by Clemson, but if Clemson wins, I'm not gonna be surprised either. So, some really really interesting things that are going to be happening. Um, and we'll have to see what goes on out there. Let me do a quick search here because actually we should be getting an announcement from Tua Tagovailoa. I think they said it was going to be noon Eastern, right? On his decision. So yes, breaking news. As we still continue to talk about college football here. Breaking news: Tua Tagovailoa, he will forego his senior season. He's going to enter the draft. So yeah, uh, he had Alabama didn't have a season they wanted to, and he Tua didn't. He was doing some injuries, and then he had that big one with his hip, and so obviously he's at the press conference right now. So I don't know what decisions went into it or anything like that. And I've been recording this, so I didn't have it. I didn't have it on, but obviously he is. I think he's going to try to make it. Now, listen, Mel Kiper, he still has him number 3 overall. Even with the hip injury and everything, he's still number 3 overall on his 2020 big board. So, and he's not. I don't know. I don't. So it all depends on what happens in the combine with the interviews and anything like that. So he could still be a top 10 pick, top 5 pick even, but he could even also fall down below. He could do what Lamar Jackson did. He could maybe fall to the very last pick, and if someone jumps up and trades into the first round and gets him. Um, but yeah, so he's gonna forego his senior season and make it to the NFL draft. And in my opinion, either way would have been fine. But I actually think this is a good way to do it. I think the injury kind of proved that he's been durability is his biggest negative, making his negative right now. He's been injured in all his time that he's played. Um, at least the full seasons, the last year and this year, he's had some injury issues. So, they always say the best ability is durability or availability, excuse me. And that's going to be one of the things he's going to improve. Can he be available for teams? But he has forgoed his senior season. He will enter the NFL draft. So that will be something to check out for as we get closer and closer to the combine, which is happening next month. And lastly, here on this podcast, we're going to talk about the passing of David Stern. Um, Several weeks ago, he suffered a brain hemorrhage, and while he was dining in a Manhattan restaurant on December 12th. And then, actually, New Year's Day, he passed away. I'm taking this from CBSNews.com. Stern became the 4th commissioner of the NBA in February 1984. He previously served as NBA's general counsel from 78 to 80, then the executive vice president from 80 to 84. In 2012, Stern announced he would step down, and in February 2014, Adam Silver became his replacement. At the time of his retirement, he was the longest serving NBA commissioner, holding the position for actually 30 years. He remained affiliated the with the NBA with the title of Commissioner Emeritus, and he has stayed active in other things. Adam Silver said, "For 22 years, I have a courtside seat to watch David in action. He was my mentor. He was one of my dearest friends. We spent countless hours in the office, or at arenas, on planes, wherever the game would take us. Like every NBA legend, David had extraordinary talents, but with him, it was all about the fundamentals, preparation, attention to detail, and hard work." Um, there was so many other things that David Stern did. As commissioner, he oversaw the considerable expansion of the league. He saw games airing in over 200 countries. Um, he was also instrumental in creating the WNBA, which was founded in 1996. Um, there were so many things that David Stern was he was there for. I mean, listen, when he was, in the '80s, they were playing games on tape delay in the NBA. The NBA finals was played on tape delay. And you think right now, you think about that, you would think that would be stupid, but that's what was happening when he was commissioner. And then, of course, Magic and Bird came along, and of course, the biggest one, Michael, came along. But it was David Stern's vision because he knew how to he could market those guys. He could market Magic and Larry, and then Michael, and then Olajuwon and Shaq and Robinson and then McGrady and Grant Hill and all those things. The NBA fantastic stuff and the NBA action is fantastic and all these other videos and other marketing tools that came out and then the expansion to the other countries. So he was a major part of the reason why the NBA is behind soccer. I would think is the second biggest global brand of sports in the world. Um, and while football is trying to make its game kind of global by going over to London, it's not going to have the reach that the NBA had. And even though the NBA here in America is probably is second behind the NBA in NFL, and at some point it could surpass it with everything with the concussions and everything like that, and other things that happen in the NFL. But it was what David Stern did to globalize the National Basketball Association was it was incredible. So David Stern passing at the age of 77. Um, he will be missed to his family, his friends, his NBA compadres. Um, my thoughts go out to you. All right, y'all. That is it for this episode of the Game According to Me podcast. If you guys are watching on YouTube, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, you hit that subscribe button, you click the notification bell, so that whatever I do, whether I put out reaction videos, try not to laugh or anything like that, make sure that you are here to get it. You're not gonna want to miss anything. 2020, I hope will be a big year for this channel, and we will grow into something a little bit bigger and a little bit better than it is right now. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, again, I thank you guys so much for listening and being here. It is truly an honor to do this for you. So I've got some updates for you guys for both the podcast listeners and the YouTube watchers. I now have a Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/AJ Trip, you can, if you like what I do, if you like what you see, like what you hear, whatever, you can now um, help support me by signing up on Patreon, becoming a patron. It's 3 tiers. It's a $1 tier, it's a $10 tier, and it's a $25 tier on Patreon. So if you guys if you guys want to help me out and support me, you can go ahead and you can do that on Patreon. And also for you guys podcast only listeners, you can also help me out with the podcast. The podcast, the Anchor FM, which what I use to do my podcast, they have their own special tier. It's 99 cents, it's $4.99, and it's $9.99. So you can sign up there if you're just a Patreon, if you're just a podcast listener, and you don't really care about anything else I do over on Twitch or on YouTube or anything like that. If you just listen to me on a podcast, you can go to the link in the description box, or you go to my page, and it'll say Anchor subscriptions, and you can sign up there. Again, any tier you want, sign up for it. So just the fact that you want to support me with your money is good enough. So whether it's on Patreon, whether it's on the Anchor FM subscription, whatever. It's anything we truly a blessing. So I'm just happy I hope to continue to do this for you guys each way it goes. So that being said, it's time for me to go. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. This is your boy AJ Tripp signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.